President of the United States, along with key European leaders there in the East Room, a true unprecedented gathering of European leadership in the White House, really world leaders gathering in the White House at a single moment, as President Trump was just talking about the so-called coalition of the willing, meeting today to try and put an end to the war in Ukraine. The president suggesting we'll give it our best shot. Sounded reasonably optimistic, in fact, that they were going to make some progress today. Among the headlines that the president said, as you heard there, we need to discuss possible changes of territory. That's obviously been a critical sticking point in the negotiating here. This is only a decision, he said, that can be made by the people of Ukraine and President Zelenskyy and President Putin. What is seeming to be a real point of contention is to whether a ceasefire is needed to proceed. I want to bring in Eamon Javers, who's been watching all of this unfold. That's what struck me, Eamon, the president repeating numerous times that he doesn't think a ceasefire is necessary anymore to make progress. But if you heard some of the other leaders in that room, Chancellor Merz suggesting, I don't think we could have a trilateral meeting or take this to that next step without it, calling it a necessity. President Macron of France dictating that as well. It's a truce is a necessity, he said. Let's start there.
Yeah, I think it's smart to put your finger on that, Scott, because that was the one area where they did not seem to be on the same page, and you did detect a little bit of a disagreement in the room. The idea that Merz was saying, I don't think we can move forward with a trilateral meeting unless there's a ceasefire in place. President Trump very much wants that trilateral meeting with himself, Vladimir Putin, and Volodymyr Zelenskyy to do what would be a historic peace deal here. The Chancellor of Germany is saying, well, wait a second, we might not be ready to go forward with that. So that was the area where I think there was the most, conflict in this room, to the extent that there was any. But both Zelenskyy and Trump here really at pains to suggest that they had a very positive one-on-one meeting behind closed doors, which lasted, by our count, about an hour's time off camera between the two men and presumably aides and staffers on both sides. So a positive outlook from the president, who said, while difficult, peace is within reach. And fascinating that at the end, he sort of hedged that idea and leaned a little bit more on the difficult idea, suggesting that, it may not happen, but we're going to work hard at it. The president doesn't want to set a bar here for success being peace deal or nothing. He understands that this is a very tricky situation.
The other issue that's going to be heavily negotiated is obviously around security guarantees, which you did hear as well. The president seems open to some degree. It's just a matter of what that would look like. You noted earlier, I think, quite smartly, that the president, walk away from the idea or immediately shoot down the idea of U.S. troops playing some level of role there. You heard Keir Starmer of the UK talk about guarantees being a necessity, and then Giorgia Meloni of Italy saying, quote, we have to make sure this won't happen again. So those are the two issues that seem to be top of mind in that room: a potential ceasefire negotiated and then some guarantee on the idea of security in that region.
Yeah, and each leader is seeking to praise President Trump for what they believe he's doing and moving in the right direction. You heard the head of NATO there praising President Trump and saying that you have said that you're willing to participate in security guarantees is really a breakthrough today, suggesting that Trump's willingness to put U.S. troops, U.S. force on the table as part of that security guarantee is the breakthrough that he had been looking for on this day of negotiations. And the president, as you say, not taking the idea of U.S. troops off the table when given that opportunity in the Oval Office. So the question now becomes, what does that look like? What does that really mean? Are we talking about boots on the ground or some other means by which the U.S. could project force in defense of Ukraine in the event of another Russian invasion if they were able to get a ceasefire here?
Eamon, you stay.